Good day, my comrades. This is Brother Soldier coming at you again with the price of loyalty. And I had parts 1 and 2, so we're going to touch a little bit about, we're going to conclude here with a few little parts that I need to cover, and then we can maybe move to a different topic. But I mentioned that the price of loyalty pays off in the long run. If you don't do it, if you can't show a heart of gold from the beginning stages of the child all the way up to his adulthood, and he be faithful to the community and faithful to the village, you're going to have a nation that's continually taken, or a people that's continually taken into bondage and continually controlled by outside influences. The deception, even the level of deception, the illusion of inclusion has come to a part where it's so deceptive that even the predator, or what you call the oppressor, will make you feel like you getting the same thing he's getting. In some senses you are. But let one of your offsprings commit an offense against his offspring, and you'll see a lot of times they'll cry out against you, regardless of whether the scales of justice exist or not. They will cry out against you in support of their own powerful people against your so-called powerless, basically powerless, oppressed people. Let one of your sons offend one of their sons. Somebody can argue that the same thing would happen if the shoe was on the other foot. Let one of their sons offend one of ours. If it's man for man, you too much won't hear much from the community unless it's something that is fatal. And if it's fatal, depending on the circumstances, the people that look like one of those people who was injured or the victim is going to cry out, just like some of the things that's going on in North America right now over young teenage unsupervised boys left alone with all that testosterone and energy, cockiness. One of them puts his hand on another, and then somebody's ready to strike back, not the way that they intended for them to strike back. But you had no business putting your hands on anybody, and you had no business leaving them unsupervised. So things happen. And it's interesting that nobody around breaks that stuff up. You know, so some of the other people could break that stuff up, which usually happens. But, you know, things happen. So I'm speaking in general terms, and I'm kind of thinking about some of the stories that unfolded in North America about the people playing a race card when somebody of a different race does something that's fatal against an opposite race, and you get all this racism coming in the picture. And a lot of times, the two groups, one is usually more privileged than the other, but the two groups are operating off of two different stimulus. One of them is crying out that one of the, like a oppressed member, is out of his place, he's trash, or he's a thug, and he had no business taking the life of one of ours, and then they get on this high horse. And then you get the other group crying out that make sure justice is served, because usually the system sides on the dominant race. It sides on the dominant race. So we're always crying for justice, and usually the people of the oppressed race are victimized by people in power most of the times. It's people in power and people that have power that's exercising like police power, and they're doing it wrongfully. And the system has always had a history of letting many of those guys off the hook, but you never see a history of the oppressed and the black race being let off the hook for, just let off the hook for anything that they do wrong. So, the loyalty, the faithfulness and the loyalty to the price, it pays off when you do good to your people, and then by that you can justify doing good to other people. I think it's very hypocritical for a person of African descent, to say that they got all these good ties with all these other races, that they can't deal with their own people. And they keep trying to say sometimes that their own people are no good. But, there's some people out here that are trying, that are good. And that's a lie. But anyway, let me look at what I have here about, okay, in the animal kingdom, they have what is called a herd, whatever it is, herd of water buffalo, or a pride of lion, or a group of hippopotamus, or a group of wildebeest, whatever, or rams, whatever the case is, they usually strive to breed strong offspring. If they do not breed strong offspring, chances are the pride or the herd can be diminished, conquered, subdued. So they put pressure to reproduce with the strongest male in the herd in order to produce strong offspring. But in the human race, when we're growing up in the hood and growing up on the block, we have what is called a checking system, that back then, if you was a little boy and you played with dolls, you were called a sissy. You called a little punk. And that was not to be rude or mean. It was to check you, to let you know what the perimeters are, so that we produce the kind of men in society that need to preserve the offspring and the people, and to fight gallantly for the people. You raise little sissies, then you're not going to have what you need to preserve the strength and dignity of the people. So we checked each other. We wanted to see if you could fight, so we brought you out to the playground and see if you could throw your hands. But it was no guns and knives involved. It was just strength against strength, conquest against conquest, just like a chess game or a checkers game. To see what you're made out of, see if you can represent. The gangs have taken that similarly and used it for what they do. But we're talking about representing the community and representing our people. Spelling bees and chemistry tests and chemistry exams and brain game things we do to develop the spirit of togetherness and unity, to thrive when things are against us. We promote each other and encourage each other. Well, over the last 10, 15 years, that has been eroding. And now it's okay for a little boy to play with little girls' clothes, even to the point of dressing up as a little girl, and even as a point of acting like one. It is not representative of the flock. And somebody said, well, that's prejudice. They say, well, if you're talking about trying to keep the people strong and trying to keep them moving forward and trying to keep the men having a strong, natural, good sense of threatening behavior. When I say good sense of threatening behavior, meaning that I'm not going to bully you. I'm not going to rob you. I'm not going to do anything wrong. I'm not going to break the law. But if you come over here messing with us, we're going to check you and we're going to put you in your place. That's threatening in a good way. Because there's some guys and some women, you don't mess with them. They don't play. And so you want a village and you want a community to have that kind of person representing you. Now that's all being broken down from the inside. And remember I said, you can't spoil a man's goods until you first bind the strong man. You can't spoil his goods. You can't spoil his nation until you break it down from the inside and bind it. You can't do it unless you invite weakness into the ranks of our people. Remember I said God has a roll call. Are you there? Are you going to be there? Are you going to step to the plate? Are you going to be accountable? The community and our ancestors has a roll call. Are you capable of representing? Or have you failed? And if you failed, what you going to do to correct the situation? If there's God willing, there's tomorrow. You don't have to be a born loser. So what I'm saying is, let me make sure I'm covered some of these other things. So when you see a men have been stripped of the ability to represent their people, they're battle-torn men. Can they be salvaged? Possibly, sure. But what's going to get them on that right track? So that means the core of us is challenged because we're getting rotted from the core. And when you rot from the core, even though the apple looks good on the outside, it'll fall apart because it has nothing on the inside. It's like a cancer. Cancer comes on the inside, but it'll make its way to the outside and let people know you're frail. So men that oppress other men are not real men. Real men can stand and strive in the midst of oppression or without oppression. Real women can do the same. I'm just speaking from the heart here. Time and time again, battle-tested men and battle-trained men are good for battle. Men that are busy tearing down and killing the community and feeding on its own people are not fit for battle mentally and psychologically. They get in the way. And I find it interesting that some of the toughest men, muscles, and that'll fight at the drop of a hat, a lot of them are incarcerated. You ever wonder why? You know, maybe they got in a small mind battle with other guys and they want to prove the manhood, prove the toughness, and they fell into that trap. Maybe they stepped to a police officer incorrectly and they got themselves locked up. But if you see that they got them under lock and key, what does that tell you? I mean, not all of them, but many of them. What does that tell you? It tells you that they've been entrapped or they've been caught up in a trap, whether it's self-made or system influenced. They still ended up in it. It could happen to any of us. So the bait is out there. The to be enticed is out there. It's going to be out there, but you can't say yes to everything. Just because a woman offers you sex or something and she's fine, some dudes say they never turn that down. Some of them dudes end up in a lot of trouble. Was it really worth it? So sometimes you have to say no when you really want to say yeah. You just have to do it. So the enemies are they of your own household. So the household needs to be put in check. That goes for the church. That goes for the education system. That anywhere we represent, we need to be checked in those things. And then we can begin to talk about battling from without because we're ready. We're ready to battle. We'll have some topics on that in the near future. So to keep someone's foot off our neck, We got to be able to be self-controlled, self-disciplined men. Only an oppressor that pushes other men to their limits and keeps his foot on their neck are notoriously insecure men that have to do that. My time is out. Peace, love, Hotep.